Alrighty, guys, so we got to talk about Facebook today. Facebook's a stock I've been looking at very aggressively over the past couple of days due to valuation, and honestly, I think it's just way too beaten down in the short term, so we have to break it down. We'll talk about some risks, the future of the company, we'll break down some numbers, financials, all that good stuff, so hit the like button, subscribe, join my Patreon, and make sure to get your 5 stocks for Moo Moo. Use my link down below, deposit $100, and you could get up to 5 stocks valued up to $3,500 each. That's linked down below. Same with the Patreon. And with that being said, let's talk. So Facebook, to be exact with you guys, to be precise, this thing is down a good 20%. Look, maybe not after today's rally, but before today's rally, well, actually, heck, it's still down about 18-19% right now from all-time highs. But if we're looking at the 384 low, or high rather, compared to the low that we just hit last week at 289, this thing went down almost $100 per share, or in other words, about 25%. So overall, this thing is in a bear market. 18-19%, screw it, that's a bear market, guys, and it was down 25%. And the PE ratio, which we'll talk more about in a couple of minutes here, is very low in my opinion. And the growth, we'll take a look at that as well. The growth is still there. So at this point, Facebook is very interesting. And if you guys happen not to know Facebook, now I guess known as Meta Platforms, well, if you didn't know them, we're going to talk about them now. They're a business that they have two business segments, and obviously you guys know Facebook. I'm just joking. Family of apps is the one main segment. Well, I guess for now, maybe in the future when the metaverse pops off, it might be different. But as of now, family of apps is the main segment. This includes Facebook, Messenger, Facebook, the app, Instagram, WhatsApp, and a couple other services. Then we have FRL, which is Facebook Reality Labs. This includes augmented and virtual reality-related consumer hardware, software, and content. I'm assuming that's going to be, part of the metaverse. The metaverse is going to be part of that. And by the way, we'll talk more about this later in the video, but they are investing right now, and they're planning on doing this for years. They're investing $10 to $15 billion per year when it comes to the metaverse. Again, we'll talk about that later on in this video. And if I pull up the 3-year chart on Facebook, you guys can see this pullback makes a lot of sense. If you look at the insane rally this stock had from February of 21 to about September of 21, it went 7 months straight. When you look at this crazy rally from 260 to 384, you're going to think, okay, it makes sense. I mean, this thing ran up 50%, it ran up, or about 120 a share. So the fact that it's pulling back, it makes complete sense to me. Complete sense to me. And we might as well talk a little bit now about the numbers here. And by the way, on the chart, you can see clearly the uptrend is still intact on this 3-year time frame. So let's talk a little bit about these numbers. Let's see if I could pull up my Safari tab really quickly on OBS here, guys. Let's do this quickly. Don't look at that yet because that's for a little bit from now. So overall, Facebook's market cap, as I'm making this video, is $862 billion. Pretty much the same market cap, roughly, as Tesla, which in my opinion, present day, Facebook is more valuable than Tesla. They make money, a lot more on revenue, and they have a lot more earnings, profits. We're not going to compare Facebook and Tesla. That's not the point of this video. But I'm just saying, it's crazy. Valuation, it's an interesting science, if you will. So here, based on Yahoo Finance, if you guys take a look bottom left here, they say Facebook is undervalued, which I completely agree with. So they have $862 billion market cap. The beta right now is 1.28, which means it's more volatile than the overall market. Makes sense. We won't get into that in this video either. P is about a 22, trailing 12 months, which is less than the overall market. That's very low in my opinion. We'll talk about the growth in a second here. EPS, they've done about $14 in the past trailing 12 months, with earnings coming up this week on February 2nd. So that's what, Wednesday they're reporting. And it's crazy. I mean, this thing's gone 253 on the low end, 52-week range, to about 384. And take a look at the growth. You guys will see it for yourselves. Take a look at this growth. You guys see this? Let me move my face a bit. This shows their revenue growth over the past 10 years. Now remember, going back to that PE, 22 trailing 12-month PE. I mean, for Christ's sakes, guys, companies like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, these have a higher PE right now than Facebook, and this is comical to me. I mean, let me pull it up. Here, give me a second. I'm doing it on my iPad. Give me a second. Look at this. I mean, why am I doing it on my iPad? I might as well just do it here so you guys can see it. Look, Pepsi. Let's pull up Pepsi. Pepsi's PE right now is a 29. You guys see that? You guys see that? That is insane. Coca-Cola's PE right now it's got to be over 30. It's a 30. I mean, this is insane. So you're telling me Coca-Cola, Pepsi, they have essentially no growth right now. Their PE is higher than Facebook, which you guys can clearly see on this tab. Let me see if you can see it. Yup, you can see it. Look under my face. 2011. They grew 88%, 37% in 2012. And forget about those numbers from a decade ago. Look at the numbers recently in 2018. They grew 37%. 2017, they did 47% revenue growth, that is. Let me clarify that. This is revenue growth. And in 2019, they did 26 billion, or 26% rather. And then in 2020, they grew over 20%. So yes, the revenue growth is slowing down. But on average, the past 5 years, they've grown what? 25, 30%, which is just insane growth for a 22 PE. I mean, this is insanely undervalued in terms of just based on the PE. And again, they're growing insanely. So keep that in mind. This is kind of a value play at the same time as a growth play. You're kind of getting a growth stock on a discount. That's the way I'm looking at Facebook here. But keep in mind, there's risks with this company. I don't want to sound like, oh, it's amazing, it's incredible, it's a no-brainer buy. There are some risks. There's regulatory risks. It's a very big company. A lot of these mega cap companies have this problem. That's number one. We know that. And on the same, another one, which kind of goes back with what I said, they're growing a lot, but their growth has been slowing down, and that's kind of what we're seeing now. Their growth, it's still growing, don't get me wrong, but it's been slowing down. That's why I guess you can say maybe the stock's been repriced recently, and we can see, again, the revenue growth has come down a bit recently, but also the monthly active user. So take a look at this data here, guys. Let me see. Make sure you all are, if you're finding value, make sure to smash that like button. This video, you're probably finding value in this. At least I hope you are. So look at this. We have the monthly active users of Facebook back in 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, 13. They were doubling up their monthly active users. I mean, when they started in 2008, is this in millions? I guess they had 100 million users in 2008, roughly. And now they're looking at a lot more than that, but they doubled up from 2008 to about 2010. They tripled it up. From 2010 to 2012, they 3x'd it, so they were growing a lot more. The moral of the story is here, we're not going to look every year at what their monthly active users were, but they were growing a lot quicker back then than they are now, which makes sense, because as you capture more of the world, I mean, how much, the developed world that is, how many more people can you possibly get on the platform? So it makes sense. Maybe as the world gets more developed, Facebook can grow more in terms of monthly active users. It might get that growth rate back, but as of now, it's come down a lot. Keep that in mind for monthly active users and for daily active users. Same thing. I mean, it's come down a lot. Daily active users, monthly active users. And the biggest countries for monthly active users right now are India and the U.S. Big countries, right? And obviously, Facebook's not in China. So India, we have 320 million monthly active users per year, roughly, or just in general. United States, 190 million. Indonesia, Brazil. So again, if we get more around the developed countries, if countries that aren't developed, let's say they develop over time, they get Facebook, this will probably grow. But as of now, we're seeing a huge slump in all these numbers. So that's a big risk at this point in time. And based on my experience, I don't really use Facebook, the app. I use Instagram, but not as much as before. So I think their platforms, and by the way, Facebook is more of the demographic is on Facebook, I've noticed, and you guys probably know this as well. It's for the older demographic. I'm not saying you're old or you're on Facebook. All the young people have to get off now. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of people on Facebook are what? 40s, 50s plus, 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, it goes all the way up. And a lot of the younger people, you know, the teenagers, 20s, 30s, they're going on Instagram, which again, Facebook has Instagram. That's great. But even though I think Instagram, it's not as good as it used to be. That's just my opinion. I think a lot of people agree. So they have Instagram, but a lot of the young demographic is going to TikTok, right? YouTube. These are stealing a lot of people from Facebook. And as the older demographic gets older and older and older, and not to sound morbid, but as they, you know, pass on, whatever, Facebook, they're fighting for the young demographic. That's just the bottom line here. And pretty much everybody is, you know, Snapchat, everybody, and they're stuck with now, which it could change, but they're heavily with the older demographic. So keep that in mind. That's why now we're transitioning to the future of Facebook. That is why they're focusing on the good old metaverse, and they're investing $10, $15 billion a year, because who's going to be on the metaverse, guys? Let's be real with ourselves. In 10, 15, 20 years, when I'm probably in the old demographic, right, which I'm not anywhere near that yet, but one day I will be, right? Hopefully. But, yeah, in that time period, who's going to be on the metaverse? The young demographic. Older people probably aren't going to be on the metaverse. It's going to be the younger people. That is how Facebook is trying to capture the young people if they're successful. And in my opinion, the metaverse, it's great. It's the future for sure. It is the future, but I think it's too early to tell. I think it's way too early days. Ask yourself this question. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, I don't know anybody. Ask yourself the question, who do you know every day that's going to the metaverse these days, VR goggles, whatever? Who do you know that consistently does that? I mean, you might know one or two people out of all these people that you know. I mean, it's just way too early days. We're not seeing mass adoption yet, but I do think that is coming in the future at some point. But we just don't know yet. So that's another risk for Facebook, I guess. But it's also it's going to be big if it works out. Let's put it that way. So hopefully I didn't ramble too much in this video, guys. We're about 12 minutes in. I think I did provide some value. Hopefully, if I did, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you do want to see more content like this. And what do you guys think of Meta platforms or Facebook, whatever you want to call it? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to also join my Patreon if you want all my real-time buys, sells, call-outs, morning update videos. And by the way, I'm looking at buying Facebook. I didn't even mention that in this video. I forgot. I got too caught up with talking about it. I'm thinking about buying them. So, yeah, I mean, if you want all my alerts, that's linked down below. Make sure to also get your 5 stocks for Moomoo. Deposit 100. Each of those could be up to $3,500 in value. Check that link down below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. As always, keep crushing the markets. Stay safe out there. Peace out, guys.